Hey again and welcome to a new video. So PDS is finally up. We are able to finally try out all the changes, the new champ and anything. And today I want to start with some PDS content, so to say, and talk about more in detail about the new champion Yagorath. First of all, don't be surprised, my username is a little bit different just because I changed my username when I started my YouTube channel, and the PDS server mostly are not up to date, so they refer to data like a few months ago or something. So that's why my username is my old username, so to say, but it's still my account. You also can see on the account level it's a little bit lower than my current level is, so yeah, don't be surprised. I actually said in the last video about Yagorath that I want to talk more about her CC reduction or whatever she has. We didn't know to that point, and I also want to try or want to talk about some basic tips for her, or what you want to do, how you could try to use her abilities, or yeah, just what my thoughts about her are currently. So my first thoughts, as you know, were like, well, she's kinda OP, she's kinda overpowered, but I actually don't think she's that overpowered. Now that I played her a lot, so I tested out to try to play her. It took me some time to kind of figure out how to play her, but now I feel kind of confident on her, or as confident as possible to that point. So for playing her some, I don't know how many games, but actually some games, and now I kind of figured out some things what you keep in mind. So I first want to talk about her kit in general. So, as we know, to the last point, so to say, or to the update show, I like to prefer to the update show, was that if you ult someone, you gain a different health pool. So your health pool is a little bit smaller. So you have 4000 HP in your ult. But what I felt like they didn't really said or clarified was, well, what happens if you die in your ult, or what happens if you lose all your HP in your ult, and what happens after, so to say. So you are able at ulting, imagine maybe at 1 HP, then you ult, you gain 4000 HP and start your animation and your whole thing. So if your ult gets destroyed, so to say, because your ult HP dies, then you will drop the target. You're kind of stuck in the animation afterwards a little bit. So if only if you die in your ult, so to say, you're stuck in some animation, and after it you go back to what your HP was before. So it's not like you press E, you get new HP, and then you start at full HP again. No, it's like you press E, have for some time a little bit more HP, or sometimes a little bit less HP. It depends on how many HP you start your ult. And then after your ult, you get back to your old HP. So even if you die in your ult, you don't really die in your ult, because you just go back to your old HP, so to say. But it's also the same like when you hit your ult and you actually execute, you won't get back to full HP, you just go back to where you was before you activated your ult. But I still think in some situations it's pretty strong to stay alive, because if you're about to die or something, press your ult and just buy some time, and afterwards if you were really low, if it was clear that you're going to die, you probably die afterwards. But maybe you buy some time for your healer. And what I feel like her ult is really strong against is if you try to ult someone close to you, not like over the whole map. I think there is a little range limit, but I'm not sure. I think it's similar to Khan's ult. Maybe it's a little bit longer the range. I don't know. And you actually have to hit it like Khan's ult. But I think the hitbox is a little bit more forgiving if you're not on target, so to say, than it is for Khan. But anyway, you have to hit your ult. If you fail your ult, you go back to 50% of your ult. So you actually are left with more ult charge than on the other ultimates where you get some ult charge back, so to say. So for example, on Jorgos, if you fail to hit your ult, you're back to 30% or something. But on Yagorath, you're back on 50. The champion description says you have a 5-second cooldown on your form swap, but that's actually not true. So you're actually able to swap from your planted form to your travel form the whole time. So even if you just placed yourself into the planted form, you're almost immediately, I think there's like 1 second animation cooldown, so because the animation takes play and stuff. But I think there's like literally no cooldown, only 1 second or something, where you can go back from your planted form into your travel form. But the other way around, it's about 5 seconds. It's not really 5 seconds. So it's between 3 and 4 seconds, I think. I'm not quite sure, but every time I played, it looked for me like between 3 to 4 seconds. So that's why it's pretty good, or you're pretty mobile, because you maybe you misplace yourself or something, or you just want to get on some spot to ult someone because you want to be in safe position or whatever, and then you want to go back on the point, and then you actually can swap back from your planted form into your travel form pretty easily. So now to her passive, where we didn't know the details about. So she actually has a base damage reduction of 40%, which is pretty strong. It's like Inara using Mother's Grace, and then Inara has her Earthen Guard up. You actually only have the damage reduction if you're actually in your planted form. So if you swap back into your travel form after the animation stopped playing, you actually don't have the damage reduction anymore. But she's still pretty mobile. It's kinda... If she starts rolling, then she's slow, but afterwards she's pretty fast. Sometimes it's hard to hit her, so yeah, I think it's understandable why they took out the damage reduction, because it's still pretty hard to actually hit her and deal damage to her. So now to her crowd control, or kind of immunity. So she's immune to all ults who would change her appearance, so to say. So she's immune to Pip ult, she's immune to emoji ult, and she's also immune to ults where she would leave her place because she can't be displaced. So if she gets, I don't know, Dumba ult or something, then she actually is stunned for a few seconds. So the duration of the Dumba ult, therefore she is stunned. So you can't displace Yagorath. So that also means like you can't ult another Yagorath as Yagorath or whatever, but you actually are able to ult Yagorath as Xin. So even though she's immune to most of the crowd controls in the game, she's not immune to a Xin ult or something. But I'm sure she's immune to a Khan ult or whatever, so you literally can't displace her. She's planted at her place, so to say, so she also just gets stunned if you dumb her ult. But sometimes it's enough to stun her or to ult her, and therefore you stun her or something to actually get some time. Now to her Caustic Spray. So in the beginning I felt like it's pretty strong, and it is really strong against the squishy or whatever, but sometimes it's hard to actually hit because you're in your planted form and it takes some time to roll around, change your position or whatever. You are really strong at pressuring point and stuff, but over range you need your piercing quills, therefore yeah, it's like a hit scan, so it's pretty easy to hit over range, but you almost do no damage. But which is pretty strong is like the extra damage you do to others if you combine your left and your right click. But it's not like too overpowered. I didn't feel like it's too strong, so it's okay. It fits to her kit and stuff, so it's not too strong. Now to some basic things I'd like to say. So first of all, you don't really need to activate your acceleration at the beginning of the match, because if you're in your travel form and you roll to the point, you're actually at the same speed, at the same movement speed as your teammates on their mount. So maybe a little bit slower, but you don't really recognize. So for me, it's like I don't want to waste that cooldown, because if I go to the point, or not to the point, to some other spot where I planted, I'm pretty low, I want to get out, then I want to use my acceleration and didn't wait for the cooldown. So what I like to do on Yagorath is like starting the fight with her travel form Q. So show the enemy, show where they are to your team, to yourself, or whatever, just to know where they are. So sadly on PTS there's only Timbermill at the beginning, so it's pretty easy to already see where the enemies go. Then for the point fight, I like to stay on the point as much as possible, and if you get pressured or get to or below 50%, for me it's like where I start feeling, I'm getting low, I need to do something or whatever. Then I start using my Q, so get the damage reduction, sustain. I've seen a lot of Solar Blessing Furious actually, or a lot of healers who actually like to heal a lot, just because you're not most of the time, you're standing still sometimes on the point, so it's pretty easy to hit your beam. So maybe you get hit by a Fury beam or whatever, then you actually can stay on the point. But most of the times, it's like you're on the point, you use your Q because you're getting low, and then when the second my Q stopped, I like to swap my form to the travel form. So you actually need to have some HP left, obviously, because you lose your damage reduction and stuff. But after I swap to my travel form, I like to use my acceleration to get out, and most of the times it actually worked. So maybe some situations, what I experience where I like to start using my Q is against Willow Seedlings, against the Jogo Fire Spit if I get hit by the Fire Spit, if I get ulted by Nessa, if I get pressured really hard where I feel like the whole team is shooting on me, then I might stop my Q before it is about to stop, so to say, because I want to get out. I don't want to die on the point, so swap to your travel form, use acceleration, and get out. After you actually capped, I like to stay a little bit on the point, but you actually can go zoning. You maybe can roll around, because it's you if you roll around, you kinda small, so you can hide behind cover to tell your team where the enemy is about to go, or you actually could use your Q. I also like to pay attention to my travel form Q cooldown, because I like to use it every time I can, and if it's needed, so to say. If the enemy is not visible to my team, I like to swap to my travel form, not even roll around, just swap, activate my Q, wait out the Q, see where the enemy is, tell my team with activating my Q where the enemy is, make it easier for them to kill them or to see them, and swap back to my travel form. Then another thing I also like is placing myself on the payload, because then you don't have to immediately swap after you are out of the range or something, because you don't get out of the range. You just are on the payload and you travel with the payload. So set yourself on the payload and be there, wait for heals. If you get low, use your Q, swap forms, use your acceleration, get out. So it's actually pretty good on her, like rolling around, tell your team where the enemies are and stuff. What I also like to do on Yagorath is like using my reveal on enemies who are invisible. So maybe you're playing against the sky, or you're playing against Shalin and Shalin is ulting. Then on some maps it actually works, because the maps are closer. Even on Timbermill it worked for me to reveal him to your teams. So reveal them, make sure you can see them even if they are invisible, and kind of make it harder for them to use their ult on Shaolin, or maybe just their normal ability on Sky. Another thing I actually also like to do is when the capturing is about to end and the other team needs to touch, then just spray where they are about to come and dismount them, because your spray, it's good to spray around and spray it around on a lot of areas to make sure you can dismount the other team or something. So I think that's it for the basic tips or some other information we didn't have to her base kit or what I like to do on her. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And in the next video, I will talk about some cards I like to use on her to support my playstyle and make it easier for me to use the abilities. I told you how to use them.